Unit 3, Day 3, partial fractions. Partial fractions. The instructions will say something like decompose into fractions. So we're going to start with an answer and split it up into pieces. This is by no means an official way to say this, but we're going to sort of unadd fractions. Because you're going to have the answer, and your job is to provide the question. It's sort of a Jeopardy day. All right, like I'll give you the answer, and then I need you to give me the answer in the form of a question. Like, how did we get there? Let's look at an example. Well, here's a really easy example. If it was just numbers, and I said the answer is 8, what did we add to get to 8? Somebody give me an answer. 4 and 4. 5 and 3, 6 and 2. 10 and negative 2. So there's an infinite number of answers to this one. But that illustrates what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you the answer and ask, well, what did we add to get there? So let's start with our answer. 5x minus 8 over x times x minus 4. So it's a little bit weird because you're like, well, what do I do with that? Except that the instructions will say something like decompose into partial fractions. Like, figure out where it came from. Why is that our answer? Well, I think part of this is easy. If we added fractions to get there, what part is easy, the numerator or the denominator?
Denominator.
The denominator. Like, it had to be x and x minus 4. Like, we've done enough of those to know that if that's the common denominator, then one of the terms was x and one was x minus 4. What we don't know is the numerator. So let's just call the numerators a and b and see if we can figure out how to find a and b. So that's maybe the most important step, getting it set up. Now, I don't like all the fractions in there, so it would be nice if I could multiply by something that would make all of the fractions go away. What could I multiply by that would cancel out all my denominators? Just x and x minus 4. And by the way, it's always whatever the original denominator was, multiply both sides by that. So that means each term I'm going to multiply by x and x minus 4. Maybe it feels a little tedious to write it all out, but for the first time through, I'm going to write it all out, because there are people who will try to skip this step and they lose track of what cancels and what's left. And so if you think you'll struggle with that, write it out. It takes a little more time, but if it'll help you get the problem right, take the time to do it. All right, so on this first term, this is nice. The x and x minus 4 cancel, and we're left with just 5x minus 8. On the second term, the x's cancel, and we're left with a times x minus 4. And on that third term, the x minus 4's cancel, and we're left with b and x. So I don't know that got us a whole lot closer to finding what a and b are, but it's a whole lot easier equation to look at than what we were dealing with. What we'll do next is one of the steps that, like, you probably wouldn't guess unless your math teacher told you to do this. but we're going to pick a good value of x to plug in. So this statement is supposed to be true for all values of x. We're just trying to find a and b. So we can pick any x we want, and it's supposed to work. If there was a good value of x to pick, it might make solving for a and b easier. Can you think of a good value of x? And by good, I mean a value that would make some of the terms go away, or at least one of the terms go away. If we let x be 0, it will wipe out that term. So let's do that. Let's let x be 0. So that means everywhere there's an x, I'm going to put in a 0. That's another place where some people are going to skip steps and be fine, and other people are going to skip steps and mess it up because they didn't write it out. Let's see, 5 times 0 is 0, minus 8 is negative 8, a times negative 4. And then why we pick 0 to begin with is it wiped out that b term, so I don't have to worry about it anymore. And now I can know what a is. So a is 2. So I'm sort of halfway done. I've got a. Still looking for b. But there's another good value of x to pick that would wipe out another chunk of the problem. What would be a good value to pick? I'm looking at this. Yeah, if we pick 4, we'll wipe out that a term. So let's let x equal 4. So again, everywhere there's an x, we put in a 4.
Attention teachers, that was the ADA bell. Please take your ADA attendance at this time.
And the whole point of picking the 4 is it wipes out that term. 20 minus 8 is 12 equals 4b. So b is 3. So now we've solved the problem. Although I haven't given the answer yet because the answer is the original question. So I need to rewrite, I can't get it all on there. I need to rewrite the addition problem, but now I know what a and b are. So it's a over x, so 2 over x, plus b over x minus 4, but b is 3. So there's my partial fraction decomposition. Wow. Sounds fancy when you say it like that. Is there a way you could check your answer?
I suppose you could actually
add them back together, like put x minus 4 on this one top and bottom and x on this one top and bottom. Do all the adding fraction things and we should get back to 5x minus 8 over x and x minus 4. Almost nobody ever does that on the test. They just take their time and hope that it works, I think. But if you really wanted to make sure you were going to get 100 or a 105 or you had extra time and you weren't sure you did it right, you could add those and see if it did get you back to where you started. Okay, so that's kind of a crazy process. Let's do another one of those together. This time I'll pick on some people to help us out. And then we'll do one off of the homework together as well. X plus 3 over x squared minus 8x plus 15.
You just factor that out to get the denominator.
Let's factor it out to get our denominators. So here comes the parade of popsicle sticks. Danny, how do you factor x squared minus 8x plus 15?
X minus 5x minus 3.
Okay, good. So on the other side, Kaylee, what will my denominators be? Right, like that's kind of the easy question. X minus 5 and x minus 3. Sorry, I'm not picking someone to tell me to put a and b in the numerators. But now I've kind of got it set up. I know the shape or the format of the two things that we'll add to get the answer that we want. Right, next, I want to clear those denominators. So I would like to multiply by something, Ainsley, Dillard. So what could I multiply by that would wipe out all my denominators? Yeah. X minus 5 and x minus 3. So I'm going to skip the step of putting that, just because it's so tedious to write x minus 5, x minus 3 on each piece. That's already a lot to work through. So we're going to pick on people and see if we can pull this off. Making sure everybody's here. So, Bella, on this term on the left, when I multiply by x minus 5 and x minus 3, what's left?
X minus 5. I'm not gonna lie, I was busy writing things.
Okay. So I'm going to multiply every term, the three terms, by x minus 5 and x minus 3. Because that will hopefully cancel all the denominators. So on this term, don't even worry about those two terms yet. When I multiply by x minus 5 and x minus 3,
X plus 3.
x plus 3 is left because we canceled the other things. So x plus 3. Ainsley, on this second term, what's left? Good. A times x minus 3 because the x minus 5's canceled. And then Kylie, on this last term, what's left?
B times x minus 5.
Whoops, wrong Kylie. That's okay. But yes, b times x minus 5. She let you off the hook, Kylie. Other Kylie.
I was gonna say the same thing.
I'm sure you were. Okay, so now we got rid of our denominators. Now I'd like to get rid of some terms. I'd like to let x be some nice things. Oh, let's put Kylie back on the spot here. So Kylie, what would be a good value of x that would wipe some stuff out for us?
3.
3 would be a great pick. So 3 plus 3 is 6. 3 minus 3 is 0. That's the whole point of picking 3. So 6 equals negative 2b. So b equals negative 3. So that was a great pick. Alice, what else could I pick? What else could I pick for us?
You could pick 5.
I could pick 5.
Oh my god. Fine. Sorry. And then it would get you to 8 plus 4.
I don't know, I'm not there yet. But I think you're right. So I plug in 5 for all the x's. And 5 minus 5 is 0. That's why we picked 5, to wipe out one of the terms. Whoops, that's 5 minus 3. So 2a equals 8. And yes, a equals 4. So I found a and b, but I'm not really done until I write the original problem. You know, like Jeopardy, you got to answer the question, or answer the question in the form of a question. So 4 over x minus 5 plus negative 3 over x minus 3. A quick word of warning, caution. When you're checking your answers on either in Schoology or with each other, be careful. Don't just look and say, well, what'd you get for A, what'd you get for B? Because if the person had set these up different than you had, like if they had factored it and put the x minus 3 first, then your A and B will be switched. You should still end up with the same final answer, but you called A and B different things. So if you're helping each other or studying, you can't just ask, what'd you get for A? You have to look a little more in detail than that. You could say, what did you have for the number over x minus 5? Or let me see how you set it up and try to follow the path. So just be careful when you're looking on, like again, the answer should be the same, but if you're trying to follow my work or a friend's work, it might be set up a little different if they switch the order of those. All right, let's look at worksheet number 3, and we need to do number 4. So back to the worksheet packet. And you tell me, why did I pick number 4 to do?
Let's find out.
Look at number 4. It's already factored, so that's nice. What's that?
Asking for 3 fractions, not 2.
Yeah, in fact, the directions kind of give that away if you hadn't already figured it out. It's going to take 3 fractions. X and x minus 1 and x plus 1. So I'll have an A, a B, and a C for this one. After that, the process is the same. It's going to be a little uglier because there's 3 fractions. Again, we'll multiply by that original denominator. That way we'll cancel all the denominators. A little short on space here, so I'm definitely not going to write out each term with the x minus 1, and the x plus 1 for time and space purposes. On this first fraction, what would be left? Frankie, what would be left on the first fraction?
That's a great question. Looks like just 2x squared plus 1.
I think that would be right. Then things get a little bit trickier. Fortunately, 3 names who are more than capable of figuring this out. On this first term, Davis,
Yes.
let me ask it in stages here. What's going to cancel on this first term?
The x
So what's left with A?
would be x squared minus 2. Or
Don't multiply it out. Just leave them factored.
Oh, then x minus 1, x plus 1.
Yeah, definitely do not multiply them out because then it's going to get really bad. Leave them factored, and it'll be easy to see what our good values of x are and make things go away. Grenier, let me ask you the same thing first. Looking at the B term there, what cancels?
X plus 1. I mean x minus 1.
X minus 1, unless you wrote yours differently. For mine, x minus 1 cancels. So what is left with B?
X and x plus 1.
Good, x and x plus 1. And then same questions, Noah. What with the C, what cancels? Tell me what cancels first.
X plus 1.
So what's left with C?
X and x minus 1.
Good. So things are a little uglier on this one because there's extra stuff flying around. But when we pick x values, it's still going to work kind of the same way here. Hannah, what would be a good value of x to pick? So those denominator, that original denominator tells me what to multiply by. It also tells me what to pick for x. 0 would work because that would wipe out B and C. So let's let x be 0. So if I plug in 0, 2 times 0 squared plus 1, Okay, for the first one, I'm going to write it all out and see what happens. Some of you will start to shortcut this by a little bit, and that's okay. Right now, I'm going to plug in 0 everywhere there's an x. All 7 places. So it looks kind of terrible, but let's see. A would be -1 times 1, so that'd be negative A. What happens to the B term?
Looks like it's not there.
It multiplied by 0. It doesn't matter what else is going on. Same thing for the C term. So there's my answer, at least for A. A is -1. So picking wisely,
Oh.
picking one of your zeros wipes out 2 of the factors.
Yeah, I just got that because
There's extra stuff, but who cares? If you multiply by 0, it wipes it all out.
confused because I was like, "Where's the 1 gonna go?" But then I realized it's just gonna be multiplied by 0, so it's,
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
It is b times 0 times 1, but that goes away. Okay, so we let x equal 0. I need another good value of x. What else would cancel some things out? Probably 1. Let's see. 2 times 1 squared plus 1 would be 3. A times 0 times 2. I'm plugging in 1. Not showing all my work this time. B times 1 times 2. It might even be easier to do a little work in your head here. C times 1 times 0. Yeah, that's a little bit of work in your head, and it looks a whole lot neater. And the zeros is why Emma picked x equals 1. So b equals 3/2. Yeah, I don't want to box it because it's not my final answer, but I do want to sort of call attention to it because I will use it in my final answer, so don't want to lose sight of it. And then lastly, what else, Tyler? We got one more thing to find. What's another good value of x? Back at our original denominator. What's that?
We could do +1. So could we do -1?
We could do -1. That would fix anything that's x plus 1. So let x equals -1. -1 squared is 1, times 2 is 2, plus 1 is 3. Again, I'm plugging -1 in. I'm doing a little bit of math in my head here. -1 minus 1 is -2. -1 plus 1 is 0. That's good. B times -1 times 0. That's nice. Plus C times -1 times -2. Yeah, -1 minus 1 is -2. Cross out the 0 stuff. 3 equals 2c. So c also equals 3/2. And please don't stop there. Like, I'm going to take off 1 or 2 points on these problems if you stop there. Because you did everything right, but you still haven't really answered the question. -1 over x plus b, which was 3/2. And we're okay with fractions and fractions here. That's fine. Again, if you're so inclined to check your work, you would need another half a page to do it, but you would hopefully get back to where we started. So that's the worst of them. I think there's one other that has 3 factors in it. Number 7. So you got 6 left, but 5 of the 6 are only 2 factors. One of them has the 3 factors. And reminder that this will be due on Friday. So come block day, we'll have a little extra time to work 1 or 2 more, and then do the stuff for graphing. But we'll worry about that on block day.